Hi Taurus, this is your September and October horoscope for everyone who has their ascendant or their sun in Taurus or even their moon. Particularly make sure you check your ascendant sign, your rising sign, because it's the astrologically most personal one, most specific one, which shows you tangible events. So what is happening in September and October, and I'm making the September and October videos because the processes that flow during those 2 months are connected. The trends that start there interconnected. And the first important trend is that Mercury, the planet of the manager planet, the planet which asks you to rearrange, to reorder things in your life, will be staying for 2.5 months, so basically September, October until the middle of November in your 6th house of work and service and daily routines, and how you handle your work, how you handle your health routines and daily routines. So it's very rare that Mercury stays for so long in one house. It might happen next time in 10 years or 12 years again, that Mercury becomes retrograde there, basically stays for 2.5 months in your 6th house. And what does it mean for Taurus? It means that you'll be asked, with a process starting from around September till the middle of November, it will be finished, to redefine and re-examine your daily routines and how you do your work. So you might be asked to do some very detailed work, which requires a lot of your attention to detail, a lot of painstaking using your skills and your mind, and particularly in October the period gets very intense when Mercury gets retrograde there. So you have to be very careful with details. You might be asked to do some finicky work that requires you to rework things over and over, to some work that you started, maybe even that you probably started in September, in October, it comes back again to be reassessed, to be re-examined, to be reworked as well. It might be work from even earlier, maybe work you left back, certain processes and certain work that you left back from before that come in September and October to be reworked on, to be improved on, to be perfected in some way. And also during this period for 2.5 months, you can make yourself much more efficient when Mercury is in your 6th house, because Mercury just analyzes, compares how everything works. So by the end of this process, by November, you might find yourself that you've been able to create much more efficient work processes or daily routines for yourself. Instead of something taking you 5 hours to do, you might have been able to compress it and to make it more more effective and more efficient within 2 or 3 hours. And it can be with your work processes, with your work at home, so make it more easily manageable, your work processes and your duties, your responsibilities, to basically, by having to re-examine those and how they fit in your life, and re-examining them, reassessing them, analyzing them. By the end of November, many of you Tauruses will come with better plans how to arrange your day better, how to structure your work better, to be more efficient, to perfect your work and skill as well. And also health. Some of you will be asked to re-examine their health habits and to make plans and schedule somehow for better lifestyle. I mean, not lifestyle like going partying and stuff, for better way of handling your health, which means like eating better, exercising probably better, waking up earlier, how you structure your whole day in a sense that it doesn't impact your health, that your work doesn't take too much from your health as well. But you'll be asked basically to focus a lot on, for about 2.5 months, on health issues, on the health routines and regimes, and on how you handle your daily routines and make them more more efficient. And you'll be asked to do some detailed work behind the scenes, quite a lot as well. And this is one of the trends that is happening. And the other two trends, there is another important thing, that Mars goes in your 8th house. Basically, Mars stays there from the middle of September and the whole of October. And whatever Mars is, it can create some tension there. And 8th house is the house of mutual finances for Taurus. Money that are owed to you, money that you owe, banks, your partner's money, your business partner's money, your marriage partner's money. If you're working with someone in a business deal, your business partner's money, or if you're like me, for example, you work with other people and you have mutual earnings together. This is also 8th house. And when Mars is there, you might put some stress there. There might be some arguments in regards to that. You might need to put more energy and fix certain things, maybe with a loan or maybe with your partner's finances. You need to fix something. There might be some even power struggles there and arguments about such mutual resources. It doesn't have to be only money. It can be like possessions that you have access to that belong to another person. Maybe you're using someone's studio to do your paintings, or maybe you're using, you're dependent on another person to deliver textiles for you to, the resources coming to you from another person that you're using, or if you're younger, maybe you're using your brother's painting, whatever, your brother's crayons. This is on a lesser level, how it can work a bit like some power struggles in regards to you and other people's possessions and resources and finances. And also it tends to create some expenses occasionally when Mars is in the 8th house, some unexpected expenses coming to you from another source, and coming to you from, from a partner maybe. So you have to be a little bit more careful when it comes to expenses. But by the end of this process, by the end of October, you should have resolved certain problems that you have in mutual finances or resources that you share with another person. And on the psychological level, the 8th house is the house of taking control over another, having dominance over another, psychologically. And Mars there, you might have a bit more power struggles from the middle of September till the end of October with another person. But thankfully you can also resolve these, because Mars is a fighting energy, but it can trigger to the surface certain power issues, who controls who has more control over another, who has more psychological power over another. And when you face those issues, by the end of the process you can resolve them, especially the first 10 days of October. There are some very positive aspects to Mars there happening in the 8th house, so you can resolve such, power struggles that you have with another person, or you can resolve certain financial matters that with another person, loans, debts, things like that. Okay, another interesting trend in September, Venus, the planet of ease, the planet of pleasure, the planet whatever it is, it kind of makes this area of our life a little bit better for a short period, only for 20-30 days, but still we're thankful when it comes. And in September, Venus is in your 5th house, so it makes 5th house is a positive house. It's very supportive for Tauruses, and it helps you indulge a little bit more, have more fun, hobbies and things that you really enjoy doing. These are 5th house activities that give you joy, like entertainment, going to the cinema, going to parties, socializing with people. These become a source of pleasure and joy for you. You might be invited to a few more parties. You might feel a bit more flirtatious and romantic as well when Venus is in the 5th house. Venus loves being in the 5th house. It really opens up a bit the heart chakra there, and can bring some loving experiences, some good dates as well. Or even if it doesn't bring the love of your life, it's a very fast influence. It doesn't usually make some huge changes in life, but it will give you a few pleasant moments with people you love. Might be lovers, might be children. 5th house rules children, everyone who is very close to your heart. A few moments of, it's great time to go to cinemas in September, to even holidaying influences, and also creativity. People become more creative, more playful as well when Venus is in the 5th house. More creative projects can, hobbies and anything which is creative, you might enjoy a bit more when Venus is in the 5th house. And speculation, actually, you might gain from speculation. This is 5th house. I'm not talking becoming a millionaire, but maybe if you gamble, you might win 10 pounds, where before you never won anything, Or some of you who have naturally good speculation charts, they can make big hits now when Venus is in their 5th house. They can make some investments or some, play on the stock market, and it brings them more benefits, especially if your ascendant is in Taurus. Okay. And then in October, Venus goes into your, 6th house. So in October, the pleasure and the sense of fulfillment comes to you from more serious things. Because 5th house is fun, pleasure, enjoyment, So 6th house in October, when Venus goes to your 6th house, is the house of work, of responsibilities. So you feel more proud when you focus yourself in October on fulfilling responsibilities, of doing harder work, of improving on your work, you know. Venus goes and joins Mercury Day in October, so it improves this focus on daily habits, on routines as well. And it even brings you joy out of it and makes things happen with more ease there, in regards to your work, something to do with your work colleagues, with your working environment, with your responsibilities and duties. Venus can help you improve on those things somehow. So, and another interesting thing that is happening is that towards the end of September, the last 10 days of September, there is a very positive aspect happening in your 4th house towards Jupiter. Uranus is ascending and trine to Jupiter. This happens rarely, every 4 or 5, 6 years, not sure how quite often. But when this aspect happens, some sudden unexpected windfall can come to you, and in particularly for Taurus, as it's in the 4th house where Jupiter is, in regards to family, in regards to matters, the home, property, in regards to mother or people of your family, or maybe just something positive that can come from family, from property, from even vehicles. 4th house rules vehicles. So expect some windfall there, some positive, nice surprise towards the end of September. And in October, the big thing is that it's eclipse season, and eclipse season gets a little bit shaky, you probably know. And the first eclipse in October, on the 8th of October, as far as I remember, is happening in Libra. No, it's happening in Aries, which is a 12th house. So it doesn't directly influence Tauruses that much, the first eclipse in October. Eclipses cause a big change of energy, you know. 12th house rules expenses, so you might be a little bit more careful with expenses, you know, the end of September, the beginning of October. But you might have a Venus in Aries. Many Tauruses, people who are born when the sun is in Taurus, often they have their Venus, the planet of love, in Aries. And you can check out from my birth chart calculator if you have your Venus in Aries, because the eclipse then will trigger it. So there can be a big change in your relationship if your Venus falls in Aries, especially around the 15th degree of Aries where the eclipse is happening. So maybe from around 10 to around 20 degrees in Aries, if you have Venus there, you can have a big change in relationship, like the eclipse, or a big awakening in regards to something having to change in a relationship and letting go even of a relationship, because it's a lunar eclipse which is about letting go, this one in particular, something coming to its natural conclusion in you, letting it go. And then there is another eclipse which affects Tauruses more directly, which is towards the end of October, but an eclipse is felt the whole month, basically a month before and a month after, so you can feel it in even from the end of September, a big part, all of October, and even a big part of November, which is going to affect the early born Tauruses, those who are born on the 20th of April, 21st of April, 22nd, 23rd till 24th, 25th the most, from the 20th to around the 25th of April Tauruses. So those who have their ascendant on their moon from 0 to around 5 degrees in Taurus, because the eclipse is happening in your 7th house, all Tauruses might feel it. But not to the extent that those born on those days that I mentioned will feel it. They can have like new beginnings in their relationships in particular, because the eclipse happens in Scorpio, in the 1st degrees of Scorpio, which is your 7th house of relationships. So, eclipses make big shake-ups. There might be some crisis that happens, you becoming aware of having to change a role that you play in regards to some relationship. Also, it doesn't, for Taurus in particular, if you're born from around the 20th to the 25th of April, or you have your moon or ascendant from 0 to 5 degrees in Taurus, it might even be your whole life circumstances that might feel a bit shaky, but solar eclipses make place for something new to come into your life. A long-needed change. Usually an eclipse can trigger it. Something that's been festering and that you've needed to do for a long time, that you needed to start something, you needed to let go of something old, to make a big shift in your life. When the eclipse comes, this thing really comes to the forefront of your mind and can really trigger those big changes, whether it's a career change, a big relationship. Particularly for Tauruses, it might be very much connected to relationship, because the eclipse happens in your 7th house. but it might be in other life circumstances as well. It's very much depends on the personal horoscope. And I want to give you some specific days as well. Just one last thing about the eclipse. So I would say the last 10 days of October, if you want to do something, start something new, wait till the eclipse finishes. You might have some great ideas or some great urge to throw out something old and start something new, but try for the energy of the eclipse to settle down. So maybe from the beginning of November you can start laying, making action in the direction of cleaning up your life, or starting new beginnings. Avoid doing something during the time of the eclipses, because a person is much more emotional then, and the cosmic energy is a bit unsettled. The eclipses have a strong psychological impact to a person, and usually if it's your own decision to make a choice, wait till the eclipse is over and then initiate those changes. But if the event comes to you from the outside, like someone leaves you, you get fired or something like that, then it's fated. Don't be hard on yourself. This is something your higher self wants. Eclipses always bring very fated events, and it's just making space for something new to come into your life, very soon after that. And those of you who are Tauruses, who are basically Saturn, will aspect everyone's in September and October. Those of you who have their ascendant or their moon from around 17 to around 24, 25 degrees in Taurus, which means that you're what? Born... sorry, oh my... It means that you're born in... just a second. September... basically, those born from the 8th to around the 17th of May, from the 8th to around the 17th of May, or those who have their ascendant or their moon from 17 to around 25 degrees. In Taurus, they're having Saturn influence in September and October, which means you are asked to work much harder. You are asked, it's the last time Saturn tests you. No more Saturn tests after that for many years, don't worry. This process, maybe for many of you, started from last autumn, where things became more hard, more demanding, more pressure on you from outside, or even you pushing yourself harder. Testing of relationships in particular, it's all happening again in Scorpio, in your sign of relationships. So those of you who are born around those days, who have their ascendant of the moon on those degrees, a little bit of a tougher month, September and October. I don't want to scare you. It's the last time Saturn can take away something from you which is no longer valid, but which is no longer constructive and supportive. And the eclipse is also happening there. So kind of very important period, September and October, for those of you born around those days. And Saturn tests you for those times, so there is like a completion and resolution of the problems that Saturn posed to you, maybe around starting from the beginning of this year or the end of 2013. There's like a final push task from you to work hard, to be very, persevering, and if you want to succeed in something, very loyal and hardworking and persevering. Or if something has finished its role in your life, this might be the time it's fully taken away from you and you finish, you conclude. Whether it's a relationship, this is like the last time it tortures you and the last time you feel down, and after that the sky clears up, so good things come for you. But it's the last push now. So thank you very much, Taurus. I hope I was able to be of help to you, and please write to me.